Hello, and welcome to Paranormal, More Normal Than We Think. I am your host, Sir Naxalot. We're joined by the lovely AJ. We also have my co-interviewer, Cody. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So, AJ, if you would like to go ahead and start on your first experience.
Sure, absolutely. So this one, I was sort of an experiencer by proxy, and I'll explain. Back in the late 90s, my mom and my stepdad and I used to watch X-Files religiously. It was our thing, and my stepdad had said, for our next vacation, why don't we go to Las Vegas, but try to find Area 51? And at that time, there was just strict denial that it even existed. So I didn't understand how we would find something that doesn't exist. But he showed me a newspaper article, and it was a picture of a black mailbox. And that's the landmark. That's how you know you're there. So I'm not quite sure who put it there or what the background story is about that mailbox. But so we go to Vegas, and sure enough, this is way before Google Maps and things of that nature. And he had his paper map, and we drove for what seemed like quite a while, but I was a teenager back then. And sure enough, we came up on a black mailbox, and it was off of a road, but it was just desolate out there. There was nothing. Like, uh, I wish I could describe it in better terms, but
So
when we
just like
parked,
a dirt road and then just a mailbox on the side? Is that pretty much
yeah,
it?
Yeah,
yeah.
I actually have a picture I can
Yes,
post up so
yes.
you can see it.
By all means. I want to
I
see
hope
this.
this is the right one. We'll find out in a second.
Oh, wow.
You know
Did
what? That is what it looks like. And so back then the mailbox didn't have stickers, but hey, that's cool. But what I love about the picture you're sharing is you can see the mountainside, which will be great for when I explain what happened.
Hmm.
So we pull close to the mailbox and we park, and it's just again the three of us. And uh, we saw signs immediately, metal signs. I would say at least one or two of them. And it said on there that it's a restricted area and any trespassers can be shot. And again, this was very perplexing considering that this place is a non existent place. So I'm like, okay, this is
So they say.
legitimate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they say that was back before the Freedom of Information Act that revealed the black budget behind Area 51. So, yeah, that was
And
before
Google
anyone
Maps.
knew it even existed. Yeah, and Google Aerial View.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we get out our lawn chairs, and at this point, it's starting to become dusk. The sun's going to be setting, I would say, within 30, 45 minutes. So we're getting ourselves settled in, grabbing our blankets, water, just various stuff to just sit down and hang out for a few hours. Well, when it went dark, and as you have seen in the picture, there's obviously no lighting. So it was just the moonlight that we had, pitch black. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face, but
Oh,
I
okay.
neglect. Yeah, I neglected to include, and I apologize, that when we first got there, still in the daytime, there were these black Jeeps driving around on the
Mm,
mountainside. And it
they were
happened
watching you.
exactly. They were watching us watching them.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. He had brought binoculars, so that was cool. I got to look at them and see the Jeeps. And I would say there'd be one or two, but they were consistently around the whole time we were there.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it gave you a very creepy feeling. um,
Yeah,
once
because I
the
mean, essentially, it's a ghost town. It's a urban legend because that was back when it didn't exist, and
Yeah,
it's basically a whole bunch of army dudes with weapons that are hot guarding an area that did not exist. I could imagine how just
Yeah.
how weird that would feel. It'd feel like you're in a different universe almost. So that's crazy. You got to experience that. That's amazing.
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Um,
Along with that, like you know that they're watching you, but you can't see their faces, but they can very obviously see yours.
Oh, I
mhm.
guarantee there was a rifle pointed at y'all. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Very unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great word, unnerving. And I felt almost antsy is the best way I could explain it, like on guard or something. Like I don't know
Yep.
how.
Anxious, very
Tense.
anxious.
Yes. Which of course my stepdad, he's awesome. I love him to death. He had a great time teasing me throughout the evening because of it. 'Cause it was obvious I was nervous, but let's see. I would say very shortly after the sun went down, me and my stepdad were like, "Oh, we have flashlights. We should get them out of our Suburban." That's what we were driving back then. And so my mom was still sitting in her chair, and we turned, and the Suburban was not very far from where we were sitting. Definitely, there wasn't a problem with parking. So,
Of course not. Minus the cactuses.
yeah, absolutely. So we go to the back, and as soon as he opened that back door area of the Suburban, my mom made this really loud yelp sound.
Hmm.
Something I've never heard her make a sound before. And of course, we weren't facing the right direction, but we turned around and we're like, what did you see? And she was just like, oh my gosh, a really bright light came up from behind the mountain and just took off. And she's like, it was amazing. And my mom is not a very excitable person.
Mm-hmm.
So her genuine response to that made me, obviously, one, she's my mother, I'm going to believe her, but I could just tell by her reaction that she really got to experience something.
Hmm.
And
Did she say
I
how
will,
fast it took off? Like, did she give a rough estimate? Was it a slow takeoff? Was it like instantaneous?
so she said that when it went straight up, it was not at a very rapid speed, but when it took off, there was no way for her to gauge. Like she said,
Like
it
a
was instant.
teleportation almost.
Wait, so did
Something.
this came from the mountain then, or did it come from the horizon?
So the way that she described it, so if you look at the picture you're showing, it looked like it came from behind the mountain. It came up from it. And what's interesting, my friends, is when Bob Lazar's documentary, the most recent one, came out, I thought it was very interesting that regardless of how people feel about him, whether it's true or not that he worked there, he said that they had done testing specific days, either each week or each month. So I, at this age, now believe that it probably was them testing a craft that they probably had, because again, it came from behind the mountain. She said it took off so fast. I don't think there was a way for her to give us like an approximate. It was, but again, our backs are turned, getting out flashlights to her making that sound and us turning around. What, 2, 3 seconds? I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, you've
it
got
was
to see it to
way.
believe it, kind of thing. It's too fast.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
the thing
Uh,
about what you're saying, so Cody was in the Navy, and were you
Cool.
ever on an aircraft carrier?
I was on a destroyer,
He was on a
or a
destroyer.
DDG rather, not destroyer.
All right. Well, so do you know anything, AJ, about how G-force
Yes.
works?
Yes.
All
But
right.
if you don't mind, I would love to hear a little bit about it in this context. Go for it.
All right. So a human. Now, I'm not 100%. Cody would probably be better explaining this part, but when you're in a fighter jet and you're in a dogfight, if you take a sharp turn going, what do they go, like 300 miles an hour? You pull about, what, 4 Gs, 3 Gs? And what that is,
Well,
go ahead.
Mach 1 is 760 miles per hour.
Holy crap, I
And then,
undershot the hell out of
yeah,
that.
it's fast.
Okay, well,
Um,
700. So what are they pulling, like 4 or 5 Gs?
I couldn't tell you how many G's they're pulling. Just
You know,
that they
let
usually
me
don't
look
go
that up real
to.
quick.
Uh, yeah, that was one of the questions I was going to ask, because it is Area 51 and it's in the mountains. There's been some theories behind them, like building aircraft and stuff inside of the mountains,
Uh-huh.
like doing a lot of the testing, like the aerodynamics and stuff like that. But more specifically, there was an aircraft called, I think it was called Aurora, and
Yes, turned into the SR-71.
yeah, so yeah, that aircraft was supposed to go something like Mach 7, which is
What?
insane, and that would explain, well, not necessarily that aircraft specifically, but that would explain the speed in which it disappeared and y'all couldn't see it
Yeah,
Yeah,
around that time.
the whole situation was maybe 5, 10 seconds at most, but the actual time, lapse of the, us turning around, her
Hmm.
squealing, us turning back, that was like milliseconds,
Yeah,
probably.
nothing. just gone.
Yeah, and we were so disappointed that we missed it.
Oh, I
Yeah, you
imagine.
must have been out there for a long time too, and then like, the moment you look away.
Yeah.
All right. So a fighter jet or a fighter pilot pulls 9 Gs. So what Gs are? Imagine the weight on Earth, and then one G is, I do believe it's either the weight on Earth or it's double the weight on Earth. Two
1G is
Gs.
the weight of Earth.
All right. So 2 Gs is double. So in other words, if you weigh 100 pounds, you have 100 pounds pushing towards you, and that's why if you see a video of a fighter pilot, turning, his face
Yeah.
will pull back because all the weight. Now, a human cannot survive. I don't know the exact amount, but it's not too many G's, more than 9. You will pass out. Now, if you were to fly 800,000 miles an hour, like they are declaring, here's a little editor's note. It's actually 80,000 miles an hour, not 800,000 miles an hour. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm dumb sometimes. Take a right angle like they do, you would instantly become pudding. Your body, your bones, your cells would become pudding. Not very good pudding either. So there's got to be a way they're counteracting that. So that's why I don't think it's a nuts and bolts UFO.
I mean, that's to say that there's a human inside of it.
True, it could be a drone. You are correct.
Yep.
But then
That's the only thing
again,
I could think of.
if it is a drone, imagine the meta materials that drone would have to be made of to go. Just another editor's note. It's 80,000 miles, not 800,000. Sorry, guys. 1,000 miles an hour. And take a 90-degree turn like it was nothing. Like that metal, that's got to be some tough stuff. And this has been declared by the government that's the estimate of how fast they are going.
Wow, that's amazing. And more and more people are, sharing the things that they're seeing, and it's wonderful and it's amazing. And we just don't know what their capabilities are. Maybe they have something within the craft that prevents them from feeling that G-force. Like what's so interesting, you have an experience, but then you end up with so many more questions.
That's why I love this. That's why I love it, because here's the thing. This subject, like I said on my last interview, it ties in to human existence in every form. You can speculate, like me and Cody were talking about. I speculate a lot. You can speculate literally anything. You can connect lines from UFOs to human creation theory. You can
Yep.
connect it anywhere. Now, what's true? That's what we got to find out. But until then, guess what? I'm going to speculate because I love it.
There was a guy who wrote, it was like a manual or something, but he was talking about his experiences because he worked for Area 51. He was talking about there's how he was working as like the space, or not spacecraft, the aircraft that was inside of it. But there was one day in particular where he saw a UFO inside of Area 51, and they were doing testing on it. And because when you have atoms, you have the protons, the electrons, the neutrons. What he said that he saw in the experiments was that the protons and neutrons were so big that when the electrons would go between them, they would separate, and that's what would cause the aircraft itself to levitate.
Oh,
Wow.
like the
So I thought,
falling theory.
I don't know what the falling theory is.
Basically, the theory is that it like where the UFO is going, it bends space around it, and I'm not for sure how they explained it, but it's something along the lines of it's. You know what? I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't know enough about it. I'm not gonna give somebody false information. So let's just continue on with that. Redact that.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
I don't want to mislead nobody.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it could have been an experimental aircraft, or it also could have been a UFO that they were testing. Like, you really don't know.
Right.
That's the glory of it.
Yeah, that is the glory of it.
And so to close out this experience that we had, the rest of the night, the Jeeps were always there. So at night that we could see the headlights moving around. So like you guys were saying earlier, yeah, they absolutely were watching us consistently.
There's many videos. I don't know if you've looked them up, but there's videos of them coming out up to folks and saying, "You need to turn around, or we are going to arrest you." And I believe that they said, "We're going to arrest you, only because they had a video camera pointed at their face. If they didn't have that camera, I guarantee you they probably would have been like, you have 3 seconds to evacuate or you were going to get shot in the head.
Wow. It wouldn't surprise me.
Area
And
51 is very sensitive. Very sensitive.
yeah. And how we ended up ending our evening, my stepdad started again, they were teasing me. So he said, "Is that somebody walking towards us?" And again, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. So I got so freaked out. I was like,
Hmm.
"That's it. I'm getting in the car." And I just sat there and they had to back up because I was terrified.
I
Oh
bet.
no.
Oh man.
But it
Did
was
you
Uh,
great.
did you have any kind of weird experiences afterwards, like a lingering hitchhiker effect or anything?
No, we did not. None of us had anything of that nature, not from that event. No.
Well, did that
uh,
event change your mind on UFOs? Did it make you believe immediately, or how do you feel about that?
So in general, so my mom and my stepdad have always been believers, and then my biological father, he was in the Air Force, and so I grew up with there never being a question. It was in my, I guess, childhood and teen years. It was something we talked about. It wasn't necessarily all the time, but we just thought it was very interesting that folks were so uh, against that idea because we
It's
really
common
believed like.
knowledge in your household, basically.
Yeah, it was like mathematically, it's impossible. How could we? Yeah, there's the Goldilocks theory and all these things, but no, it's like, no, really, if the, outer space is supposed to be infinite, then how can we really be the only ones? So I feel blessed in that sense that I, was never, I wasn't teased by my family or for believing. Um, I would say, if anything, what the Area 51 experience did for me was actually doubt my government.
Hmm.
Uh, Especially
yeah.
I was in junior college at the time. So it was more, again, more questions than answers, so to speak. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily about the belief in aliens or UFOs. It was just more like, wow, what is our government up to and what are they doing? So I would say that opened my eyes more so to that than anything else. And it was just a really cool experience in general.
All right, so Cody, I'm gonna let you say something because you were wanting to say something earlier, but let me throw this in here real quick. So, the Hitchhiker Effect, basically, when if I were to see a UFO and I were to tell people about it, there's a good chance that they're gonna go outside, they're gonna see a UFO. So,
I see.
with with you seeing the UFO, but having already been immersed and raised in that culture, I don't believe if UFOs are real, if aliens are real, or if whatever it is real, which it is. I don't believe that they were. I don't believe they would waste their time, so to speak, coming to you to prove they're there when you already know wholeheartedly that they are there. So
Interesting.
they're gonna come after people like my neighbors who don't believe, so they can open their eyes. That's what I believe, and
Implies
that's
that
go ahead.
aliens want to be seen,
Yes, because
so
they have lights
they
on their
just
craft.
reveal themselves straight up.
I can tell you why. I have thought about this for a long time. They won't reveal themselves because to me, to you, to AJ, to people in our kind of culture, it's normal. But there are people in the world who, if they see a UFO, it can possibly snap their brain, break their reality, and cause madness. And the reason I believe this is because of what I told you, the experience I had. How one night I went to bed, the very next day I woke up. Something happened at night. I'm not going to talk about it. But the very next day I woke up and my wife and everybody around me, they say I'm a completely different person. I have completely changed. I started this YouTube. I started doing photography. It changed me as a person. Now imagine someone who is completely against the subject. You
Mhm.
plop a UFO in front of them, it's going to drive them mad, kind of like Cthulhu. Like H.P. Lovecraft was correct. That's why they won't come out outright.
Hmm.
That's my
So
opinion.
do you also believe, as we know, for and I know I'm much older than you guys, but religion was much more a foundation in many families. It's not as much as it is today. It was much more than it is today.
Hmm.
So I would imagine, like what you're describing, it could really rattle someone's faith.
So I'm not what you would call an atheist. I believe there's something out there. I don't know what, but Cody is more versed in this situation.
Would you say that the potential for people to really respond negatively about having them believe there's a UFO or aliens out in our universe would, because of a religious background, do you think that would be something that could, make them lose it, basically?
So right here in the video, I tried to simplify AJ's question to Cody, and it ended up sounding kind of like I was taking over Cody's question for him. So I apologize about that. What Cody says before I so rudely interrupted was he brought up Billy Graham.
Aliens and the extraterrestrials, and he said that they were demons that would come down to Earth to observe us, but would not interact with us.
What
It's
made
been
them
years since I read the
demons?
book. I don't know. I have no idea.
He jumped to a conclusion on that one. He had to have. He just had to.
You say that, but at the same time, if you
Yeah,
go
we
back
don't know.
to the Book of Enoch, it talks about things coming down from Earth, and then like whenever we ate from the fruit of tree of knowledge and stuff like that, we were a vast expansion of our technologies. But with that we also came to like murder and stuff like that. So you have
Well,
Cain
AJ
and
told
Abel.
me AJ told me a very good point. I want to stop you on this. So she knows exactly what you're talking about because she had mentioned to me. Actually, AJ, I'm sure you remember what you were telling me about the positive and the negative situation.
Yeah, I thank you. I do believe that just like with the human race, we have positive people and negative people. I would imagine the same would apply to aliens species. There's going to be your positive and there's going to be your negative. I don't know that I would hope that they were obviously more evolved, but I just imagine that there would be the same thing out there as there is here on Earth.
Like, what can you do when you know that there's aliens above you? What can you do?
Honestly, yeah, you can live your life terrified that they're going to come down and kill your entire family, or you can live your life, but I would rather be happy in my life than terrified for the rest of my life. So this is not something to be scared of.
Agreed.
Yeah. And regardless, like, what can you do?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what actually is going to happen. Something might happen.
Yeah, you can pull the blankets over your head all night long, but guess what? That alien's still there.
Yep.
And this brings us back to what we were just talking about folks possibly, losing it over the having the knowledge. That in itself is one reason potentially why they continue to keep it supposedly a secret, is just some folks may not be able to handle that fact that we are vulnerable, just accepting that we're vulnerable as a species.
True. Yeah.
Imagine, Cody, imagine if I walked into your house right now. You know where I live, I know where you live, but imagine if I walked into your house right now. Would that not freak you out beyond belief? If I told you,
would be happy.
if I said, hey, I was in the South 2 seconds ago, and now I'm on the East Coast, right? Isn't it the East Coast?
West Coast.
West Coast. Jesus Christ, I've always got those two mixed up. I'm sorry. I'm from Alabama. I'm stupid. Anyway,
No, don't say that. That is not true. No, we're both in California, right?
Right.
I'm in California. No. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Well, let's say I went from Alabama to California, and you knew I was in Alabama 2 seconds ago, and now I'm in California. If you saw that happen, if you witnessed that happen, it would confuse you and probably break your reality. And I'm not an alien. So, like,
I have several questions.
Do what?
I would have several questions for you.
Several.
Like, how did you open my locked door?
Exactly, and that's why we're here where we're at right now. We're trying to understand the phenomenon. We're seeing it. We're seeing basically me teleport to your house, and we're just trying to figure out how. That's what's going on right now. Let's go ahead and move on to your next experience.
Okay. About 2 years ago, my husband and I, we had as a family, we'd had family dinner outside in the backyard. We were just cleaning up and taking just a break for a minute, and we just both happened to be looking at the same area of the sky at the same time, and we saw a really bright, it looked like a star, but it was going really fast. And I wish I could give an approximation, but there's no way a satellite could move that fast. And it suddenly made a right degree turn and continued its trajectory. And it was so fast. And we just stood there silent for a moment. And my husband started to say, Did you just see? And before he could even finish, I was like, oh my God, yes, I saw that. And we thought it was so remarkable that we happened to be looking in the same area at the same time. And it's funny because a lot of folks will say, why don't you take a picture or video but you're so in awe at that moment that you're not processing. You're seeing something that your brain can't process. So we were honestly very excited that we got to see something, but
let me
it was,
interject real
yeah,
quick. So what you just said makes me it makes me so happy because my last interviewer, almost to the T, said the exact same thing, and y'all don't know each other. He said
yeah, no, we don't.
you can't take your phone out. It's almost impossible unless you go out with the intent. I'm going to take a picture of a UFO. You're not gonna know to pull your phone out to do it. Go ahead.
No, you're frozen and you're just in awe of the moment. And so we were very excited. So that's a very short and small experience, but it leads into the last one. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm happy to.
No questions at the moment. So for both of you to be looking at the exact same thing, same time, like something was railing against both of your perceptions, which is more just something I noticed rather than a question to be asked, is something
Sure.
intriguing to analyze.
Yes.
What I said in my last video, I probably said it wrong because I rewatched the video and I was like, God dang it, you can't say that word. Collaborating, is that the
Cooperating?
word? Cooperating.
Cooperating?
Yes. So my last video, corroborating witnesses, is what this guy had in common with all of his experiences. He had someone else there who saw the exact same thing. That is crucial, as I said in my last video, because that means you're seeing it, they're seeing it. Odds are, if anyone else was there, they're seeing it. So it's not a figment of your imagination. It's not a mental disease. This is happening, people. This is here. Whether you like it or not, this is here. Man-made, who knows? Alien-made, who knows? But it's here.
The unfortunate thing is when, again, I couldn't tell you how far it was. I couldn't tell you how, that's what's unfortunate. There's just no way to gauge. You don't have anything to reference to be able to compare it to.
Especially at night, you can't make out any kind of description. It's very difficult because the things I've seen, it's just almost impossible to pick out any kind of detail. So this story I haven't told before. I haven't told Cody. I haven't told nobody. This has been witnessed by me, my brother, my mom, and my wife. All four of us seen this, and everyone that I've told about it says it's Starlink. Y'all know what Starlink is?
Starlink, is that the Wi-Fi connection that Elon Musk is putting out?
Yes. You see the space between them?
Yeah.
They're really not that bright when you do see them in real life. They're dimmer, but they are in a line like that. So everyone says what I saw was this, but here's the problem with that. What I saw, what my mom saw, what everybody saw, they were spaced out. I can't tell you the distance, but if you were to look up at the sky right now and you put one hand in the sky and then you stretch your left hand all the way out and you put that hand in the sky and you were to look, that's the distance they were apart from each other. It was massive, but there was over 60 objects going in the same line at the same speed. And I mean, they were not close at all. And they were all lit up. They weren't flashing. They were lit up like a solid white color. And they were not close to the atmosphere or close to the earth. They were. My mother was out smoking, and she was just looking at the stars, and it was just so faint. And she saw it, and she's like, "What the hell?" She started counting. She got up to 30, and then she came and told us. So it was really faint, really far away, really spaced apart. There's no way that Starlink. It's possible,
Wow.
but I don't think it was.
That's amazing. And
This
60 of them.
up to 60. I was there just counting, and that was
lot.
the first time my wife had seen any kind of UFO UAP situation. So when she saw it, it scared her. She went back in the house. She refused to come back out. Like she was visibly shooken. She was shook.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's one of my experiences that I haven't really talked about. Cody, I don't think you've ever told me if you have or haven't had any. Have you?
I was on my way to California, actually, and we were driving through Arizona at the time. Just stopped at a gas station, middle of the day, and just saw a, like, picturesque image of a UFO, and at first I thought it was like, some pole that has this UFO attachment on it as like an advertisement, but it started moving after like 30 minutes. And I was like, all
Oh,
right, well, that's weird.
So you did see one. You saw detail. You saw
Yeah,
detail. What? I want to hear this. Explain what it looked like, please.
it literally, like, you just take a picture of a classic UFO, which is why I didn't think twice about it. Like, and then
A
it just
saucer.
moved. Yeah,
Did
flying
it have
saucer.
windows?
Nope, no
Hmm.
windows.
I love this topic. I
absolutely.
I do. It is just so fascinating. I could get wrapped up in it. Like honestly, we have 13 minutes left until it's been 45 minutes, and it feels like it's been a minute, if that.
I agree.
Yeah, this is zoomed on a lot quicker than I thought. I think my
Yep.
anxiety was like, "Oh, this is gonna be forever." But no, I'm actually.
You enjoy it. It's fun.
I do enjoy it.
It's
It's
like,
just
and
it's
that's what I
classic.
love about this channel. It's not gonna be this strict. We got to do it like this. No, I want it to flow freely, like this. We are just a bunch of friends hanging out, talking about UFOs. That's awesome. Are we going to discover anything? Maybe, maybe not. Are we lead scientists? No. But we are talking about it, and maybe our talking points will inspire or, reveal this phenomenon to those who don't believe it. Who knows? But I'm
Or
I'm here
maybe
for the
it'll help.
ride.
Yeah, maybe someone will just have a recollection of like, oh my gosh, maybe I did have an experience that they just maybe, passed it, just let it pass through their mind because they didn't want to believe or didn't feel that it was. But it could be something as small as, what I experienced that moment with my husband in the backyard. So about 2 weeks later, we decided to go for a night swim. My husband, myself, and my daughter, who, as I mentioned, teenager. She was probably 12 though at that time. So I was all excited still about the experience from 2 weeks
Hmm.
before. So I was explaining to her, guess what me and daddy saw, and telling her the whole story. And I was just sitting on like a pool noodle, just sitting there enjoying the water, not really swimming or anything.
Classic. Yep.
And, yeah. And my daughter goes, oh, like that? And
Hmm.
I looked up and there was a triangle UFO,
Oh wow.
and it was huge, and it was moving very slowly but silently. And again, you're in awe and shock. And just start squealing from excitement. Oh my gosh, that's a UFO. And she jumped out of the pool. She was so scared and she ran inside. And me and my husband were just watching this thing travel across the sky. And it was close enough or it was big enough, because again, I can't really reference how far away it was, that I could make out enough detail that it was all black. Um, the edges were round, and in each corner, it looked to me like it had a neon circle. And it wasn't a dome light, almost like the pot lights in our what now is very common in homes, where the whole circle is illuminated.
Hmm.
It was like, again, a neon sign where just the outer ring was lit up. And it was traveling so slowly that we could watch it for a good, let's say, 30 seconds. And the impression that I got while watching it travel over us was that it was scanning. And I don't know if that's truly what it was doing, but that's the sense that I got, is they were scanning. And so, of course, I wanted to go inside and check on my daughter. So as soon as I got inside, I immediately drew a picture of what I saw, and I'll upload it.
Oh yes, I would love to see
Oh, that's
that.
exciting. Yeah. Was
Can you
that?
tell me the date again?
Oh yeah, you know what? That's a really good.
Where's the location?
Oh, okay.
This is near Sacramento. We are
Okay.
about 15 minutes from downtown. It happened on Saturday, July 13th of 2019, 11:43 p.m.
Oh wow.
Now,
I see it now.
okay, and I do have another point of reference. I'm going to try to download this picture because I happened to catch this image. It's of a book by Terry Lovelace, and it's called The Incident at Devil's Den.
Oh,
And
I haven't heard of that.
when I saw the book cover, it literally made me gasp. because that's exactly what I saw.
The
Perfect.
picture
So
and
that
the book.
That it's identical to what you drew. It's identical.
and that's why it made me gasp. It freaked me out because all these things go through your mind. You're like,
Was that
you're just.
after or before? Did this come out after or before your experience?
I did not see the book cover until after my experience.
Oh
I
wow.
happened to catch a podcast or a YouTube series by Linda Moulton Howe, uh, and she had this gentleman on, and so that's how I knew to look up the book because he was talking about a triangle UFO, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. It felt like a confirmation for me, like you were joking earlier, that I'm not crazy. I didn't make this up, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was very, very excited when I saw the book cover because that's pretty darn close as far as other than the dome lights on the book cover are completely illuminated. But again, I felt like they were scanning or something. I wish I could explain it better, but
Oh
that's
no,
close.
I understand. I'm more
That's
crazier than
right.
him, so I get it.
Yeah, so with the scanning thing, like something had to have given you the impression of it, right? It had to have been something that was being enacted upon. And is that because it was going so slow that because you're staring at it for so long, you felt like it could also stare at you for that long? Is that
Yeah.
something that would have given you that impression?
Yes. And
Okay.
gentlemen, what's even more curious is, and again, summer evening on a weekend. So my husband had a couple beers, but he does not remember. He remembers this, he
Really?
remembers what happened. He remembers that, but he can't give you the detail that I'm giving you. And then earlier today, I talked to my daughter and I was asking her, so what do you remember when we saw the triangle? She's like, I don't remember. And it blew my mind that they don't seem to remember as much. My daughter, nothing at all. And then my husband doesn't remember enough detail. And I honestly had just chalked it up to having a couple beers, but I find that very curious.
I find that pretty serious myself.
I will say this, and this is just speculation, but have you thought that maybe there's a reason why you remember and they don't? That maybe there's some kind of higher situation going on. And what I'm getting at is consciousness. I love to talk about consciousness. I feel
Agreed.
like consciousness is something, of course, that transcends humans. Period. Like as a species, and I feel like it ties into a lot of things. If you do research, if you go researching about consciousness and stuff,
Yeah.
you will always lead back to UAPs and UFOs. There's
Yep.
ties all over it. And maybe you were not scanned and they were, or vice versa.
I would imagine. I know this topic is about UFO and UAPs, and so maybe I'll get the opportunity to chat with you, wonderful gentlemen, at a future time because I have a lot of experiences with paranormal stuff, and I never understood why. And ironically, I had an incident here at home that I asked one of my cousins who's very involved with the Native American culture, and he goes to Sweat Lodge every week and things of that nature. And so I told him, I really need your help to cleanse my home. And when the elder came and he was talking to me, we talked for quite a long time. He explained a lot of this stuff to me. And I 100% agree with what you just said because the way that he explained it all, I believe they're all tied together.
Agreed. I will say this. This video is called Paranormal, more normal than we think. And that covers everything. So if you want to talk about paranormal activity that's not UFOs, UAPs, we can continue that on the next interview because we have 7 seconds left. I think we need to do our closing statements.
I
So
know.
would you
Or
be
we'll end up being here all night. But yeah, I would love to be able to continue chatting with you guys. You guys have been awesome.
so
Thank you,
for the
guys.
public for the public to know, we are going to do another interview with AJ, and I don't know if Cody, would you like to come back?
If I am available, I will absolutely come back.
Okay, well, we will do another interview at a later time, probably very soon after I edit this video. So I'm going to go ahead and say my closing statements if y'all don't have anything else to say.
Nope, that's it. Thank you for having me.
Go ahead,
So
Cody.
the colors for your triangle, AJ, would you remember what color they actually were? What color the neon lights were?
I want to say it was like, how light bulbs come in like soft white, and then there's like like
Fluorescent.
white. Yeah. It was a soft, almost like a yellowish, but not yellow. It was like almost daytime soft white.
Oh, okay. That's a very specific color.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then it's not really a question, but I do like, at least on the book cover, that it looks like someone just cut out a piece of the universe. It's just kind of moving about.
If that's all we got rocking, we're going to go ahead and get off here.
Well, thank you again, gentlemen. It was wonderful to chat with you.
All right. Well, that's all for today's show. Thank y'all for joining. I hope you join us again for the next one. So, like I always say, y'all have a good one.